Oh, yes. Hey, y'all, what's happening, everybody? Hey, yes, we got a little bit of a different vibe this morning because we're ready to rock and roll on the Monday Mindset Movement. Yeah. I hope you're ready. Do me a favor. We're going to start with an affirmation this morning, and it says this. Just do me a favor. Repeat after me. Whether you want to do this out loud or in your mind, just repeat it and say this. Hey, today is my best day. Come on, you say it. Today, I will win. All the obstacles that present themselves today are simply launch pads for my success. Yeah. Whatever happened yesterday does not control my today because today is my day one. I'm going to start now. Yes, today is my day one. I'm going to start now. Hey, y'all, do you feel in conflict about giving? Like giving to others? No, seriously. Do you ever feel like everyone takes from you way more than they give? You want to be kind, but lately you're starting to feel some tension about being generous. It might be because you're on E. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Robert Kennedy III, RK3. That's me. Today is the Monday Mindset Movement. 15 to 30 minutes of motivation, elevation, and inspiration designed to get you thinking, blinking, rocking, and rolling through your week. Thank you all for showing up today on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and even Twitch. I'm so glad that you're here. Hey, Simply Obs. Glad that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, Natalie, how you doing this morning? Hey, Carrie, how you doing this morning? Jessica, glad that you're here this morning. Johnson, glad that you're here this morning. Perry, glad that you're here this morning. So glad that y'all are here. I am ready to do today like no other day. We're ready to rock and roll. Y'all ready to do this thing? Let's go. Hey, let's do it.
To get motivated, elevated, and accelerated. It's your time to jump out of your comfort zone and reach higher. It's time to get up and go. Grab your cup of grit and your daily dose of resilience. It's time for the Monday Mindset Movement with your host, Robert Kennedy III, RK3. It's time.
Yes. Today is a beautiful day. Today is an amazing day. Today is an awesome day. Why? Because I said so. Yes. Oh man, I don't know if y'all are ready for me today. I don't know if I'm ready for me today. Today's an awesome day. I'm ready to rock and roll. Y'all ready to do this thing? Let's do it. So let's start out with this. The title of today's episode is called Pouring on Empty. Let's talk about this. I got to give you a transparent moment. A lot of times I share stories and I share things about other people and we talk about a lot of different things, but sometimes you got to get transparent, like naked, vulnerable. And here's a transparent moment for me. Recently, I had this period where I began to feel weird, just off. I was wondering if I was experiencing a moment of depression. Now, not a diagnosis, right? Not a diagnosis of depression, but I was wondering if I was experiencing a moment of depression, right? Have you ever had that moment where you just began to wonder if something was wrong? Nothing super bad is happening. Nothing really big, traumatic, out of the ordinary, but your body, your mind, everything just feels off. If you've ever had that moment, just type me in the comments. Raise your hand. I'd love to see you raise your digital hands if you've ever had that moment. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one that's ever experienced that moment, right? If that's been you, hey, Danny Lewis, good to see you this morning. Have you ever had a moment where you felt off and you started to wonder what was going on in your brain, in your mind. And I started to try to self-diagnose. You know how we do this, right? We something's a little bit off and we're like, okay, WebMD, I'm gonna start to Google all of these different things. I started to look up different phrases online. Have you ever wondered how come when people commit crimes and they get busted because the police started looking through their web search history, right? I began to self-diagnose and I started to try to look up WebMD and I started to look up terms like early stage depression and burnout and giver's guilt. I started to look up all of these different things because I was trying to figure out what was happening. I was feeling off, and as I began to feel off, some different things began to show up in my space. I was feeling the inability to start things that I knew that I needed to do, because while I knew that I needed to do it, while I knew that I wanted to do it, while I knew that it would be helpful for me to do these things in order to push life, push business further, I hesitated on doing it. I stopped moving forward because it just felt like another thing on my plate, because I was feeling off, right? And for most people that know me, it's totally unusual to hear me say this or to share this, because my response that I normally get when I share with people, okay, yep, this is happening, that's happening, they're like, whoa, my God, how do you handle all of that? And for me, normally, it's just life. It's just life. You know, I've got 3 kids in college, kids going to college, kids graduating from high school, you know, married, involved at my church, running a business, lead a couple of different volunteer organizations, a lot of different things that are happening. And this is just life normally. But I was in this moment. And I watched a video recently. I'm going to share it with you in just a second. I watched a video that really resonated with me, and I think that it's going to resonate with you this morning as I share it. So this video begins with a gentleman who is a counselor. I'm not sure the exact type of counselor, but he has different clients come to his office to share some things. And in this particular video, he's responding or sharing the story of a woman who's come to his office who is a doctor. And she shares with him that she's feeling conflicted about some things, right? She is the advisor, the counselor, the financial resource, the everything for everybody in her family. And lately, she's been feeling resentful and conflicted about this giving. Right? She explains that it's been this way for quite some time. She wants to be able to focus on some other things in her life, but she feels bad. She feels conflicted about having to be the one that is always giving to other people in her family, and maybe even feeling a little bit resentful. And the doctor begins to respond to her, and he shares with her why she's feeling that way. He says to her that she's feeling that way because if you're pouring into people and you're depleted, then you're not actually pouring into people. I'm going to say that one more time, because before we even get into the video, I want you to get this. If you have nothing to give, then when you feel like you're pouring into people, you're pouring from a place where there's nothing. Yeah. So let me share this video with you, and I'm going to be right beside it, because this is powerful. All right. So here it is.
She was a little girl, very little girl, like a lot of little girls, had a fake tea set. You know, she had the little kitchenette thing, but she had the little fake plates and saucers, and she had teacups, and they were small little cups. And she would be playing with her tea sets, and she would occasionally say, "Daddy, come play with me." So I would sit down and play with her, and she would be making me tea. Clients looking at me. I said, when my daughter came to me with her tea cups and gave me a cup and a saucer, I would take the tea set and act like I was pouring tea into her cup. Client's looking at me. She's crying. Still crying. I said, ma'am, was any tea coming out of the cup? She said, no, sir. I said, why? She said, because the tea pot that you were playing with didn't have anything in it. I said, did my daughter know that nothing was coming out of it? She said, probably at her age, probably not. I said, why? She said, because the act of playing with her and showing her that you were pouring into her, in her mind was enough to satisfy her. I said, but was I really pouring anything into her? She just put her hand over her head and said, wow. I said, ma'am, when we say that we're pouring into people but we're depleted, it's like playing with false teacups. You're literally playing tea with an imaginary best friend. You're playing tea with your family members. You're playing tea with your friends. You're playing tea with people that you claim to be pouring into when you don't have nothing to give in the first place. I said, what makes this false humility void of wisdom is that common sense tells us that the only way we're pouring anything significant into anybody is if we have anything significant to give in the first place. I said, ma'am, you're pouring tea, but everybody is empty, including you. She bursted out crying. Doc, oh my God, that just makes sense. I said, it does. And I hate to go little kid on us all, but the reality is anytime we claim to just be pouring, we got to be there for people. We just have to help people. We just have to pour into people. We just have to solve everybody else's problems. We see it as noble, but it's false humility because really, if we're depleted, we're not pouring anything into them. And we're really only playing ultimately ourselves. Now, people will act like you're pouring into them. Why? Because temporarily you're satisfying their needs. But please understand, when you're depleted, there ain't nothing in your cup. Absolutely nothing. And it is no different than a little kid playing with tea sets and acting like they're drinking and being fulfilled. And here you are smiling, pouring, but ain't nothing coming out of the cup. She said, Doc, that makes sense. She said,
wow. If that hit you hard, just type ouch in the because listen, I have been, I was going to say in that space previously, but in some ways I'm still there, continuing to pour, right? And when you say pour, when I talk about pouring, it's not simply it's not simply people just kind of coming to you, not simply people just coming to you and dragging on you and asking you for a handout. It's the responsibilities of life. It's the things that you commit to, the groups, the organizations, the kids, the family responsibilities. All of those things are places where you pour. And as this counselor said, if you are pouring from a depleted or empty cup, if there's nothing in the cup that you pour from, then everybody ends up empty, including you. Everybody ends up empty, including you. So the question is, am I pouring from an empty cup or am I pouring from a full cup? That hit me hard. That hit me hard. I had to sit down and recognize where I was. I had to sit down and itemize or take inventory of all of the different things that I was involved in, all of the different activities and areas that I was involved in. And I'm not saying that you should go out now and quit everything. But where are you getting filled? Where's the place? Where is the time? Where's the activity that you intentionally add to your calendar, that you intentionally spend time on, that fills you? How do you fill your cup? How do you fill your cup? I can't tell you how to fill your cup. A lot of people want people online or they want books to say, hey, this is how you fill your cup. You are the only one who can determine how to fill your cup. I can't tell you how to fill it. What I can tell you is that in order to pour from a full cup, you've got to fill the cup first. You know how when you go on an airline and they talk about the emergencies and they say you've got to put your oxygen mask on before you help anybody else? You got to fill your cup first. But here's what most of us do. We create schedules for ourselves. We do all of the items. We do all of the responsibilities and roles. And when we talk about self-care, when we talk about doing things for ourselves, we schedule those last. We put those at the end of the week. We put those after everything else. You say, oh, yep, after then I'll look to fill back up. When it should be the other way around. If you leave you until the end, then you're pouring from empty. And if I go back to the video, what it said was, here's what happens. Here's the reason that some of us feel like we're still being of value, because we pour into people and they say, oh my gosh, that was great. And they run off and they do their thing. And we're saying, oh yeah, I got to keep helping people. When that help that you gave is only temporary, it's a quick fix, it's not as impactful, it doesn't last, doesn't have the potential impact that it could because you were pouring it from a space of empty. And here's what happens. Because it was only a temporary fix, they then come back and they want more and more and more. And you keep being pulled on, but you're empty. You've got nothing to give. So if you leave you until the end, if you schedule your self-care at the end, if you schedule your time for you at the end, and I've given people the advice that, yeah, I take these personal retreats several times a year, and I pulled away or let some of them slip off my calendar. And what I realized was that I was putting these personal retreats in my calendar after the other stuff. I was putting these personal retreats or this personal time in my calendar after everything else was scheduled. Let me see where I can get a weekend. Let me see where I can take a couple of days. Let me see where I can. After. So I was still pouring from empty, and I began to feel disoriented. I began to feel off because it was empty. And I was empty because I had put or scheduled me after everything else. So as you start your week, my question for you is, how are you going to fill up early? How are you going to fill up early? What are you going to do today, Monday, this morning, right now, to fill up? Is it going to be a walk? Is it going to be a round of golf? Is it going to be a bath? What is it going to be? What is your filling up activity? What is the thing that you do? What do you do to fill up? I give homework every week. I want you to write that one thing down. What is that one item, that one activity you will complete, that you will implement, that you will do today to fill up? We start our weeks, we start our mornings with coffee, a lot of us, to give us energy to go through the day. And that's a fake filler. We're using a substance, we're using something else to give us the energy to push us through. What are you going to use? What are you going to do? What is your activity to energize you and fill you up before you begin to pour into others? That's all for this week. Join me next week, Wednesday. for Story to Sales on LinkedIn Audio. Next week, we're talking about video marketing magic, how to use storytelling in your videos to unlock your sales superpower. For more information or to know when we're going live here on the Monday Mindset Movement as well, do me a favor, text live to 240-557-8679. Text live to 240-557-8679. It's scrolling in the comments. I want to end today with a quote from Anne Lamott, and it says, "Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you." It's Monday, and we want to shift your mindset to a place of growth. That doesn't just start and stop on Monday. We want to encourage you to take your Monday mindset to tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. Be curious, make a choice, move, start a movement, be a movement. Join me next week, Monday, on the Monday Mindset Movement at 8 a.m. on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and even Twitch. Until then, be amazing, my friends.